There we go. Good
Yes.
evening, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is a wonderful Monday night. And thank you so very much for taking time to join me. And Cubbie and John is off doing his thing that he does every Monday night. So he's not here. But we are, and we are ready to have some fun with all of you. So we do appreciate you taking time to join us. I know a lot of people are going to be catching this on the replay tonight, right? Just the matter of fact, everybody's, Atlantic City, DJX is going on. They're hanging out, and we're not. We're not there. We're not there. Cubby, I don't know about you. When the shows come around, there are certain ones I get some FOMO for. Like there's certain ones I get FOMO for, and Atlantic City is one of those. And I think that's because that's the one that I've consistently attended. There's only been 2 years. This is now my third, where I've not been. The first year, as I was driving down, I got word my mom had a stroke. Like
Oh,
as I was driving there, and what made it worse was I was going down with a friend, and he was riding with me. So I see you, dude. Like I dropped him off, hopped in the car, drove back home, and was able, fortunately, to get him ride back home. Another year, we had the school year start really early, so I couldn't go. And now this year, so
I've been in Atlantic City a couple different times. It's not one that I frequently attended because I think just both basically locality. As they're just representing DJ Event Planner and some other companies I've worked for. I Yeah, but I know what you mean about shows like Midwest DJs Live or MEX, and but I'm going to MEX this year and Wedding MBA, so I won't have too much FOMO there, hopefully.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it happens. And that's, I'll be honest, that's been one of my thoughts. Like, okay, so I missed out on this one. Is there another one, even if it's like not till like next spring or whatever, obviously, that I could do and say kind of it was my replacement for this one?
Can you do
Uh,
Harvest of Sound? How close is that to you? I heard that's a good one.
it's about 8 hours. It's about 8 hours into the city of Boston. The problem that I run into with that one is kind of like the timing of it. Because it is like it's December or January, I forget. I think it's December. Um, and that's just a crazy time in the teacher world between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So to try and take off to travel up there. Besides that, my in-laws are from up that way. So we drive up there for Thanksgiving, then I turn around and drive home, and then it would be like a week later driving up again. And it's
Oh, yeah.
so I will say this, they're doing a great thing with Harvest of Sound. The first year, I think that just the way it was marketed, I kind of was like, this is like a gear show, like, and that's all it is. And then last year they definitely showed that it's not a one trick pony type of idea. And this year, some good things are happening, it sounds like. So definitely one of those shows to keep an eye on. If you're anywhere near there, definitely check it out and head out that way for sure. Um, but with that note, very quick hi to Fly Robin. She's hunkering down in Florida.
Yeah. Oh, wow. How
So
close is she to that?
I think she's a little bit south of it. I think she's lucking out. She might get some rain. I'm not saying she's not going to have some repercussions of it, but I don't think she's in the pathway she's been in some of the previous ones. So Robin, if that's different, I mean, obviously you're with us tonight, so you've got power and
Yeah.
it's not too crazy if that's the case. But yeah, like I don't know. But anyway, I do want to appreciate everybody for joining in tonight. Cubby and I are doing Q&A. We've got some questions here. We're going to throw them out there. If you've got some pieces of information or something that you would like to chime in on that as well, by all means, please feel free to do so. That would be great. We'd love to have you chime in on those as well. So the way it works, if you're kind of new, we got to pause for like a brief second in between each one, a couple seconds or whatever. That helps our editor take these, because after it's all said and done, we'll have the full show, but we'll also slice it up and have little ones that I'll drop throughout the month so you can check them out if you didn't get a chance to get it in this version. So, one second, we'll be back with our first question. Okay. So, yeah, Day, sorry. No, you're not seeing me at DJX this year. This is my basement. This is my basement. I am not there. But I'm repping. I'm repping the brand. We got my
Yep.
got my DJ extra. Okay, so first question. One of the questions that tends to be brought up often in forums is, how much do you charge for insert thing here? And that is such a loaded question. It really is. And I understand that people who do it from a standpoint of either being a novice in the circle, or just kind of wanting to know. Like, I don't think this is a you know, who's got, I don't, we're gonna keep it PG. Um I don't think this is a measuring contest, is what I was trying to go with,
Yeah.
but we're keeping it nice. You know what I'm getting at.
Yes.
So I don't think it's in that situation, but I think it's one of those things. It's like, okay, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm doing this, and I want to make sure that I'm not being the DJ people talk about, right? I'm not being that low baller because I didn't know better, right? And so that's where this question is coming from. But specifically, the question that I'm using here, it was, how much do you charge for a ceremony? I think what becomes a little bit better of an idea behind I charge this is, how do you come up with the price, or how did you come up with your current price for ceremonies? So Cubbie, how'd you do it?
For a lot of years, we went with what was called the a la carte package, where you had your 5 hours and you had your ceremony, and everything was kind of like a la carte. And we found out that the brides would get to the end of the process, and it'd be a financial surprise to them that they needed to add additional hours, they needed to add a ceremony sound or whatever. So we went to a all-inclusive package. And I do have a package for brides who just get married at a church and come into the reception facility. I have a package for that. And then I got one for ceremony. So when I built my all-inclusive package, I literally just built in what I was charging for ceremony sound. And it just added it to it, added the number of hours that I was willing to go to, whether it be 8 hours or 9 hours, up to 9 hours of service, actual playtime. And it made it very clear what was all included in that all-inclusive packages, so that when I explain it to a bride, I'm like, how you go to McDonald's, you can buy the number one, it includes everything you want for your meal. That's what my package is. So I basically just added what I was already charging, didn't discount it, but I made him think that I discounted it, but I didn't. I'm like, so we bundled it, we discounted it, and this is all for one price. And it's just simpler. It's like a photographer, they don't say, well, your engagement pictures are going to cost this, and this is going to, they do, here's our package, and it includes engagement. And then you should lean towards that versus charging separately for everything. That's my opinion, and we all have opinions.
So to that end, because I think that's an important piece, and I'm kind of similar. I'm an all-inclusive, but I have my base package for people who are just doing a reception, and then I have a ceremony and reception package, and basically it includes the extra hour, and then what I would charge. So it's the extra hour of time plus what I would charge for an extra sound system. Like, that's how I came
Yep.
up with my price point for my ceremony. Like, what does it cost me to bring that extra sound system out and set it up and everything else, plus an extra hour of time. Some ceremonies are shorter, some are longer, but that's the way I went with it. How did you figure out what that ceremony value was that you include? Like, do you remember how you came about that price?
No, I've been doing it for 18 years. I mean, it just started out as a price. We just kind of incrementally increasing it, as time went on. So I think it, like, when we were a la carte, it was like 350, and it would include an extra hour, pre-ceremony, 2 lapel mics, speaker, blah blah blah, everything you need for it. And I
Okay.
really go into great detail of what it includes, because I have some of my people in my area that use wired mics and they put them on a mic stand. Like, I don't do that. I have lapel mics, and I do have a handheld in the event you have somebody reading a passage or a poem. But I don't put it so where it blocks your face for photos and it's obnoxious or weird, or you're bent over or hunkered over or whatever, trying to talk into it. So I just really share with the equipment that I have and what I'm bringing.
Nice. I think that is very important. If you're doing a different, I mean, this was not the question at all that we were talking about tonight,
Yeah.
but if you're, there's a very different version of ceremony coverage out there. I mean, there are DJs that are picking up microphones off of Amazon and plugging it into the back of their speaker, and that's the only thing that they've got. And they're Bluetoothing into the speaker. And I'm not saying if you're doing that that it's necessarily wrong, but that's very different than somebody else who is putting maybe a very high-end microphone into the system, running it through a mixer, potentially using hardwire for the music. Like there's a different scale there as far as the involvement, as far as the equipment is concerned, as far as the coverage is concerned. Um, and I think it should be charged accordingly, right? If you're doing that one end of it where you're bringing, for lack of better terms, you're bringing out the kitchen sink, then you should be charging extra for it. But don't just say, "Oh, I do ceremonies and it's this," because you say that and your couple may be thinking it's the first scenario. And real because that's what they saw at the last wedding they went to, when really yours might be over here. In the same respect, if you're in that first scenario and you're getting top dollar, all the more power to you. Go for it. Go for it. I will say this. I think one of the pieces that, because of how weddings have transitioned, I'll say the past 8 years, where almost every wedding I'm doing now, I'm doing ceremony coverage in addition to obviously reception. I think it's one of those pieces where, as DJs and as sound people, we should be investing in, and we should be charging more for, because there is a lot of pressure on you during that time. They showed up for a wedding, right? So there's no do-overs because something went on you. So taking the extra time to put the effort into that, and then again, I don't want to say you got them, but if you're doing that for majority of your weddings, then it's something that should be included there one way or another about how you go about it. So, um, so while we're on the topic of ceremonies, Day asked one that's kind of related here. He said, I think you use two speakers at a ceremony for stereo sound. How do you get sound to the second speaker? I'm going to clarify. I don't do it for stereo sound. I do it for an even sound coverage. I'm running basically mono to both of those speakers, or I'm running stereo, both channels to both speakers, I guess, if you will. But I use an IEM. I use an IEM system. And so I have a receiver pack on one speaker and the same frequency receiver pack on the other speaker. And I send it to both of them. I could send a stereo sound. It has the built-in capabilities with the IEM. I decided not to mess with that. I wanted it to be mono. I think there's a lot of benefits for what we're doing, and it's mainly spoken words. So really the stereo aspect is not going to suddenly ooh and ah anybody. Yes, you're doing some music, but not where it's going to be necessary for stereo. But that's how I'm doing it with the IEM system. So, Kevin, do you do one speaker, two speakers?
Depending on the situation, it's always for me just where I'm at and how far away I am, and um you put 250 bags of water between you and the ceremony, bags of water being the people, you just got to make sure the coverage. So it depends on the size of the wedding, the ceremony, how many people are going to be there, what's my throw from the power. So, yeah, there's a lot of variables. I can't say that but I know when they call, because like I said, I've been in my area for 18 years and the oldest fish in the pond. I know I say it over and over again. I know the venues that they're talking about, so I know exactly how to price it accordingly.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I will say I use two speakers um almost every time. Almost every time. I had one wedding recently. Um, it was kind of a weird setup. We were in kind of a funky layout, and so I just went with the one. Um, because of the way it was at somebody's property, and they were very particular about having certain things, certain places, and I was like, the speakers are going to be out from where the pictures are. Well, we still want one over there. All right, I won't put one over there. And so that's why I only went with one during that time. But almost every other time, I'm going with two. I also like the redundancy. Something happens, the one decides to overheat. The one decides that it doesn't want to receive the signal. Whatever. It's I'm good, and I don't have to worry about the other ones pumping for it. And good to go. All right, I
Do
think we
you,
beat that one. Oh, go ahead.
one last question. I know some people in my area that actually use the same speakers that they use inside for the reception for their ceremony. Do you use different ceremony speakers, or do you take the ones inside?
Now I have speakers that are specifically designed, not designed, but specifically set aside as my ceremony
That's what
speakers,
I
and it's
have.
my Bose S1s. They're wireless, they're battery powered. I can put them wherever the heck I want to. I don't have to need power. In fact, when I do a ceremony, the only power I'm carrying is my battery power for my actual rig. Everything else is battery powered and wireless because of that. And I picked a third one up so that I can use it for cocktails and or have it as a backup if something happens kind of funky. But no, I prefer to have my reception space completely set up so that I can some music is
Yeah,
playing as soon as the ceremony ends.
I have the same thing. I use verse eights, so basically same situation, battery
Yeah,
operated.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's a good idea to go that route to have that element there for it. I think it makes more sense to have to not have to beg Peter or steal from Peter to pay Paul, something like that. But yeah. All right. I think we beat that one to death. So we'll
yes,
pause
sir.
here for a second. All right. I'm going to jump down to our third one here on the list. Are there common DJ events that you would not do? And if so, why? I think I already know your answer, but
Yeah, I got two of them,
oh,
and
okay. That was not the answer I thought you were going to say. Okay.
I have two that are just not in my wheelhouse. One is bar mitzvah, bat mitzvahs. I just
Okay.
don't know enough about them. And the second one is a quinceañera. And
Okay.
again, just not in my wheelhouse. Just not. I've never done one before, and I know there's a lot of circumstance and pomp and circumstance, and I don't want to ruin it for somebody, especially with the bar mitzvah and the bat mitzvah area. There's just so much that goes along with it that I would not want to ever ruin somebody's day. And so, because it's not in my wheelhouse, I would never take it.
Are either of those or both of those popular events in your area?
No, I know a lot of people in the Chicagoland, East Coast, man. They do tons of bar mitzvah, bat mitzvahs.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Iowa, but we do get quite a few quinceañeras.
Okay.
But again, I don't get calls for them, so I'm good with that.
Right.
But I'm just not marketing to that market. But yeah, those are two areas.
That's the piece I think that's kind of funny. I have not. Let me first say, bar and bat mitzvahs. I don't know anybody in my area that does them. I know they must, right? Like this is a pretty significant event, and usually followed up with a pretty significant party of some sort. We have a Jewish community in my area, but I don't know of anybody in my circle of DJ friends that does them. I shouldn't say that does them, but that is the person that gets called for them, I should say. Um, so it's one of those things I've always wondered. I've done a photo booth for one. I was inquired about doing one time, and I was booked, but that was like it. Those were my two, in the 20 plus years that I've been DJing. Those are the two exposures I've had to this. And as far as quinceañera is kind of the same idea. I don't think we have a large Spanish community, so that one might not be as that might be more of the reason why for that one. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of it baffles me in that aspect. For mine, I'm gonna actually kind of go a little bit extreme here. I have narrowed down what I do to being weddings, school dances, and corporate events. More corporate parties than like conferences and things like that. Those are like my three. And long time ago, I would be like, you called me up for something. If you're going to pay my rate, I'm going to be there. And I've gotten to the point anymore where I'm just like, you know what? There's a lot of stress in trying to be the jack of all trades, trying to make sure I've got a little bit of everything ready to go. So I, a long time ago, kind of said, I'm going to pull back and I'm just going to focus on these. And even corporate was kind of like, I wasn't even entertaining corporate really for the most part. But now I've started to get some more like companies that are reaching out, and they're large companies. And I'm like, okay, this could roll into that, could roll into this. So you know what? Let's do it. Plus, well, depending on your corporate party, it ends up being a wedding without the mushy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the music style ends up being that. So that one's, a little bit different. But yeah, that's kind of my direction on it. Um, and then obviously the other styles I just don't even get calls for. So, but the birthday parties, I don't know. Some people out there, I'm sure you love them, not just like the kid birthday parties, but just like even like, oh, it's their 30th birthday party or whatever. I know they can be fun, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel bad, I think, charging my normal rate for that type of an event. I think, which is also part of the reason why I'm just like, I'm just not going to do it. Just not going to do it. So,
Yeah, we get a couple calls for them, and when you go to price it out for them, they see my guy, like, oh, what are you talking about that much? I'm like, well, it's a Saturday night. I'm gonna pull him away from a wedding. We're gonna pull him away from his DJ, away from my family. Keep in mind, he does not make that whole amount. So you have to explain to him that, and then when you explain it to him, like, oh, well, that makes sense. We just can't afford it. Okay, we'll go to a single op that's excited that to work for $300 to $400 on a Saturday night or a Friday night.
yeah. And I think that's also kind of gotten to be the thing. Like, if I'm home on and this probably would be a large reason why some people would be like, I'm not going to, anything that comes my way, I'm going to take. I'm not in a situation where if I don't take that event, I can still put food on my table. Right. Like, and that's where I think like some people are like $300-400, it's beats sitting at home. And I agree to a certain point, but for me, it's kind of like there's a lot of stress involved. I'm not in that situation. 10 years down the road, if I find myself in that situation, I might be, different. But for now and where I'm at, I'm just like, you know what? No, I'll take the night. I'll do some work. I'll spend it with the family. I'll clean music, clean the hard drive, that kind of thing. I'll do something.
I'll
Um,
enjoy the night off. I will
I'll
definitely
enjoy the
enjoy the
night
night.
off.
Yes.
Yeah. You get too many of those though, and you start to go, why do I still do this?
Yeah.
That's been from time to time, but okay. We'll pause here. I'm going to talk music here in just a moment. All right. So coming back here, we're talking music, and this was a question that I thought was kind of interesting. It wasn't exactly worded this way. Some of you may have seen it on Facebook, but the question was, or the question that I'm posing here is: under what conditions would you be willing to repeat a song during an event? And so while you're thinking about that, I'm going to take the scenario that I found. It was somebody that posted this on, I think it was the DJ Help Desk, and they were talking about how they played a song that was a request, and it wasn't like it was a new song. I think it was Shake That or something like that. Um, and they played it, and apparently it was like the dad's favorite song of all time, and he got up and he was having a great time. And so, I think they said like 45 minutes later, they asked for it again. And we're like very adamant, like we want to hear it again. And it went over huge again. And then at the end of the night, they asked for it again.
Oh,
And the DJ played it again, and it still went over huge. And they made the comment that that was very different than their philosophy. Their philosophy is one time only. But because of how it was posed and because it was for the dad, they decided, sure, why not? And it ended up working all three times. So, under what circumstances would you, or are you like, no, that's my policy. I'm not repeating songs, no ifs, ands, or buts?
yeah, that is so tough. I will definitely do it if if it was like one of the bride's favorite songs and she happened to be out of the room, maybe doing sunsets and you didn't realize it, she was out. And she came back in and goes, could you play this? I'm like, oh, I played it earlier. Could you play it again? I'm like, yeah, give me, I'd be like, yeah, give me another 30, 45 minutes. So there's some distance in between when I played it originally. Definitely for a bride. That's 3 times in one night. If I did it, I would do the old lead in, dad wants to hear it again and his check's cleared, or use something like I'd definitely be laying the groundwork knowing that I was not the unoriginal DJ playing the same song 3 times. It would definitely lead into, well, dad's up here again. He wants to hear the same song. So come on, something like that. But I wouldn't, yeah. I don't know. That's so situational that ugh.
I will say this is a line that you have to be, I don't know, almost be a little flexible with from time to time, not just from the couple standpoint. So obviously, yeah, your client asks you for it again. Try and get them to give you maybe a little bit of space, so it's not like played the song and it's like 3 songs later you play it again, type of situation. But I still think back, and this is what still haunts me, and I don't know how many years it's been, maybe 6 years now. Those COVID years throw us all off, but
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago, I was doing a Christmas party for an ER nurses group, and they had asked for, so remember the song, R. Kelly Ignition. Okay. I play it kind of early, it was like on a list that they've given me, and so I played it, whatever. Well, they weren't quite ready for it yet. Okay. So you can hear where this is going, right? Like
Yeah.
it was maybe an hour later or something like that. They come up and they ask, and I'm like, I've already played it. Well, let me play something else for you. No, we want that song again. Listen, I don't play songs twice in a night. Pick a different song. And they were very adamant about it, to the point that they went to their boss, who was the one who hired me, and he was going to do anything for his nurses group, comes over and he goes, play the song. And at that point, I was no longer in good graces with this gentleman, because he had to come over to ask for that song. Even though, and I was like, I was like, sir, I've already played it. And he's like, I don't care. You're playing it again. Okay. And it wasn't like, as you're hearing me retell the story, it sounds like there was like, maybe I should have had some inkling that they were going to run to the boss ahead of time. I didn't. And as far as I knew, I thought they would let it go. And obviously they didn't, after the 2 times or whatever it was that they kept asking. Um, but I think that's the one thing you kind of have to think in the back of your head. Not like, oh my gosh, they're asking for it again, I got to instantly, bow down and do it. But what would it hurt under the circumstances that you have? And exactly like you said, the lead in that says, hey, this is going out for, Jenny and Jill over here. Without, they really love this song. So everybody, let's join them. Let's make this the best song ever for the two of them tonight. Even if it's not your main couple, kind of keep those things in the back of your head. Because the other issue, kind of similar, is you could have them running up to the couple, begging them to tell you to come up and play it. And now the couple, I'm not saying they're going to be mad at you, but the couple is going to be like, I had to come up and ask you to play this. Like, what would it have hurt for you to have appeased them at some point? So I don't know.
Yeah. That's so situational that some people are like, damn, I can't believe he's playing this song again. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't in love with the song the first time and then you played it again. So some guests may be that way towards it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you turn off those people. It's so it's so horrible. I still have to, I'm glad
And
I don't
when
deal
did
with
you
it.
play it? Right?
Yeah.
When did you play? Right? Did you play it in the peak of dancing and now we're asking for it an hour later while we're still going hard? Or is this like you played it at an earlier moment when they really didn't take to it and now they're wanting it again? Now we're dancing. Now we do want it.
Yeah. Did you drop it too early? Yeah, it's like the radio station. That Shabuzi song. Every time we jump in the car, it's on the radio. Every hour. They play every hour. Every 45 minutes, it's in a rotation.
Yep. Well, and for those of you that hate that about radio, I'm just going to quote a little drip for you here, little radio insight. The average listener only listens for about 15 minutes. So the reason why your hot songs are hitting so often is because the average person, when they tune it in, they want to hear their favorite song. They're not listening for hours on end. So those of us who do listen for hours on end go, "Oh my gosh, again?" So Day says, unless it's Party Up by DMX, I would play that 4 times a night if I could. That song hits hard and then it just fades anymore. I've got to really learn to quick mix the middle section
Yes, I got a good short
to
edit.
get to the stuff, you know what I mean? They like the bridge, they like the beginning. It's that middle that they kind of lose. I will say I took a little trick from Mike Walter because I have a cue point set early on, right before it goes into like we'll say the first verse, and later on it repeats it. Maybe a minute later. I'm timing. I don't remember exactly where it's at. But if I'm doing an event that there's a bunch of kids, school event, um, or one other type of situation, right? I'll hit that like when it goes to hit there, I'll hit the next one and jump that whole first verse because that first verse, if you've got the wrong crowd, they could take offense to it. And so I'll just skip all that and they're none the wiser half the time. They're just get into it. So little tip for you if you're looking for a way to shorten the song, but also to get over some of the stuff that could be potentially offensive to the wrong people. So, all right, pause for a second. All right, now we're back. So this next one says, "Give me your thoughts of starting a wedding DJ business as a side hustle." As a side hustle. So I want you to think back, Cubbie, because I think when you started your DJ business, it was a side hustle. Not for very long, but it was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I went from working for a company, then I went to Mobile Beat magazine right after that, and then from Mobile Beat to Bliss Light. So I've always been in the industry, but and working full time, but I also had an ex-wife that spent a lot of money. So I had to work. I'd be on the road for Bliss Lights doing trade shows and things and come home and DJ a wedding. It would just be it was very hectic. Um so I cut that loose and went full time. It was amazing.
And most of you know that this is my side hustle. You know, we'll call it that. I don't like that. I'll be honest. I don't like that term. I don't like that term because there's a lot of times when I'm DJing, you know, I might be talking with people. Like for example, this past weekend, I DJ'd a wedding for a coworker of my Monday to Friday job, and that's the way I word it. My Monday to Friday job is I'm a school teacher, right? Um, because both of these are careers. Both of them, I treat them both as full-time careers, which drives me insane during the fall, but that's what I do. So my suggestion to you would be get out of the thought of this being a side hustle and start thinking of it as a second career and treat it as such. Whether it is a part-time second career or whether you make it to full-time careers, whatever it might be that you're having. I think in some aspects, I think you owe it to your couples. I think it's important. Um, but it matters and it shows. And I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I was given a huge compliment a few years ago. I was at a Marbecca workshop. We finished for the day. Those of us that were part of the workshop, we went out to dinner. Mark and Rebecca, they went back and they weren't feeling the greatest, so they just kind of hunkered in. So just the attendees, we went out to dinner together. And the one I've known for a few years, Adam Scuba, for those of you that know him, um, I didn't know the other guys that were with us. I mean, they were from about 2 hours away from where I am at, so they just weren't necessarily on my radar per se. And Adam said, you know, I want to account for Dan, basically. He's like, I've known him for a few years. And he said, you would not believe that this is a part-time gig for him. He treats us like it's a full-time event. And that meant a lot. Like because it meant I was doing the right thing. Like that's why I treated it, but the fact that somebody else saw that and thought that meant a lot. Especially somebody in our industry, right? Like I can fool the average Joe any day of the week, but I'm not going to fool someone in our industry. And so when that came out, that was important. So I think what I'm saying behind this is, and just kind of repeat myself, is that treating it in that way will further yourself with your clients, with the vendors that you're going to be working with, especially the venues and the photographers that you could potentially be seeing week in and week out. The other entertainment companies that are potentially going to send you overflow. It just there's a lot of reasons behind it that even if it's not going to be your sole income, you're treating it with the respect that it is.
Definitely treat your business as a business, not a hobby.
Yeah. Why didn't you just say that, man? That would have saved us like, I don't know, 10 minutes right there. You just
Yeah.
let me ramble. You just let me ramble. I'm
I'm
telling you.
sorry. No, you was doing good. I don't know why my phone's going off.
That's okay. You looked at your phone and my watch went off. I thought, did we both get did John just tell us to shut up? Is that what it was?
Yeah, he's
Did we get a
watching
message
us.
for John that says, listen, you guys are talking too much. Shut up. Um, no, it wasn't. Mine was a ring notification, which anyway. All right, let's pause for a second and we'll come back with our last one. Okay,
Text.
so for our last one tonight, this is going to talk about photo booths for a second. All right, so the photo booths, one of the big upsells. There for a while, I was starting to wonder if the trend was going by the wayside, and then I think it just kind of came back. Um, do you have someone to run your photo booth station at your events, or do you basically just trust it with the guests to manage by themselves?
I have two people, and I share that when I when I when they book with me, that it's experience. It's experience for your client. They have a guess it. One will help them in and out of the booth and share with them that everything you see in the screen is going to be on their photo strip, and then help out with the props. We collect the props back so we don't lose any. And then the second person will help you put it in the book and not go, when they're drunk and go crazy and sign everywhere. So, and I said, when I bring two people, it just helps it run smoother. So yeah, I definitely bring out I guess there's a lot of people in my area that have those social media booths. They drop and run and leave it there all night. And I outsell them that way because I'm like, well, they have nobody there. If something's happened, nobody's on site to help you. You have to call them. It might be an hour, might be down an hour, and they don't get the experience of somebody talking to them and having fun with them. And we call them party. Yeah, it's I forget what the word I use for them, um but yeah, I definitely have people.
I have one person that like I have multiple people that will run the booth, but when I send them as just single setups. Um, I like the idea of the two people, also to kind of help each other out because from time to time, I know like if the dance floor is really going and the booth isn't really getting used, like they get bored, and if they're kind of hanging by themselves, they're gonna like start playing on their phones or something like that. But I know a lot of times for me, it's been hard sometimes even getting one person for a certain date, let alone potentially trying to set two aside. So I think that kind of makes a deal. But I'm with Cubbie. I really think having that person there is a big help because some don't even know, even though it says push here to start. I think some don't even potentially know what to do with it. Some of the parent generation and older, right? They may have seen a booth, but they never really necessarily jumped into it. Or if they did, it was different than yours. So then they're nervous about what am I going to touch or anything along those lines. I can see where, the drop and runs are nice. Like, listen, if I had 5 of those and we could send 5 out in a weekend, like that would be some great money of just dropping and then going back and picking it up. Um, but I've also had some boosts that have just kind of had an issue. And it wasn't an issue that was, mechanical failure or something like that. It was just something that decided to act squirrely because a guest hit a button they shouldn't have, or a guest, decided to do something they shouldn't have. Or one time it was too hot. And for those of you that do prints, the plastic ink doesn't like super heat, and the paper ripped, or not the paper, the ink ripped, and so took getting it fixed. Uh, had someone not been with that, who knows? Who knows? So I'm a big believer in having somebody there. I think it's a good idea. Um, just from a lot of the standpoints with that. The other advantage to it is, and this is some way that might help some of you, especially for if this photo booth is going to be at the same event that you are, is now you have an assistant,
Mhm.
right? Like, and pay him accordingly, right? Don't just say, oh, now you're my assistant too, so you're going to do more work for less money, or for the same money. Having that assistant being able to be there to grab social media content for you, like, hey, if the booth's not busy and I've got a great dance floor, do me a favor, get some video shots, get some phone shots, some picture shots, something that looks really great, and then just drop them to me. Oh my gosh, that is such a huge help. It is such a huge help, for them to be able to do something like that, to be able to utilize that extra piece. It really just kind of helps everything move smoother.
I like to sell the experience. My whole event that it's customization and personalization. And so when I can share that it goes over to my photo booth, that it's still experience. I'm lucky that my photo booth is my wife, and she gets to bring a friend. So they're hanging out, and I get to hang with my wife, and she gets to hang with a friend, and we have a great time. And I'm lucky that way. That's not everybody's situation. And I get that. But if you can work with your wife, I encourage you to do so. Or leave your wife at home and work with your girlfriend, whatever you need to do.
John goes away, and that's the type of response we get.
You heard me last week, so
That's that is true. That is true. So it doesn't matter if John's here or not, I guess.
no, no, I was kidding. But I mean, seriously, if you
I
get an
know.
opportunity, is go with people you enjoy. I mean, you're gonna spend some time with them, like you said, and getting those social media shots from not behind the DJ booth, so you're not the creeper behind the DJ booth with your phone out there, and they're catching it from a different angle, and you're in the back that way. Yeah, it means a lot.
How many of us, I mean, in the same respect, like how many of us would like to have that shot from the crowd with us and our gear in the background, right? Because a lot of times people don't want the gear, right? They don't necessarily care about the gear. But if they see the gear looking really cool and amidst this really great party, now the two ideas go together. And now it's not such a weird idea. So having that person to be able to grab that, when there's maybe some downtime, or if you're doing the two-person team, like one person, like, listen, it's kind of slow. Like, there's some people it was kind of slow, but I can handle this. Like, go get some shots. Go take care of that and come back. I think that's great. So, plus there's some other cool ideas right now. Like, Cubbie was talking about the experience. The Danny Max booths have, there's the Roamer ones, and I know he's not the only one, but his are the ones that I had the most experience seeing. Right, where you have somebody walking around with it and like taking the shots, like with them, like intermixed throughout the venue. It becomes a much more of an experience than just I got a picture or I've got it on my phone now. Like there's more to it than that. It kind of becomes fun. Kind of just like almost that same idea of, right, the photographer getting on the dance floor and taking pictures right there. You can do some of the similar stuff happening. Right? And then somebody photo bombs it. Now it's even more of a cool event. So Day says that he saw a two-man photographer team where the second shooter became the photo booth operator, except there was no actual booth. Used a real camera, staged photos with props in the backdrop. Um, Everything looked photo booth style, but it was kind of a more professional, like
Oh, nice.
get up,
Yeah.
making sure it looks good. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen some photographers kind of set up like a second camera and treat it like a photo booth, um, but not have like all the enclosure. But I kind of like that other idea. Not that I'm going to suddenly go out and get a photographer to come with me for it, but uh, there's some cool things that can be done out there if you're willing to try something outside of the box. Make it a new experience for your potentials.
That's a great add-on for a photographer if they got the second shooter.
Yeah, because how many of them have their second shooter that goes home when they get done with the formals,
Yep.
or they get through the spotlight dances and it's okay, second shooter, you can go. Hey, second shooter, want to stick around and make an extra $100, whatever. I think some of them might jump at that opportunity because they're already there. They've already spent most of the day. Why not a few more hours? And now they both have something. So if you got a photographer friend, feel free to share that idea.
Yeah.
Just don't send it to my events because my photo booth wants to be there instead.
That's right. I'd better say the same thing. It'd be the ones
Oh
that
my,
I'm booked for, not yeah. It'd be the ones I'm booked for, not the ones I have open already booked.
exactly. Exactly. Well, we are getting down to the end of the night. So we're going to bring it to a close. That was our main questions. There was a couple more that we could have thrown out, but I think we hit the good ones for now. And we'll definitely have to get some more added before we do this next month. Tonight's kind of a different experience because this is it tonight. This is it, right? There's no hanging with anybody tonight. And the main reason is because everybody's in Atlantic City. So even though John's email said yesterday there'd be the hanging with Boston John, that's not the case. Now, you can still hop in the chill room, djntv.com/chill. You can still go there and hang out. There's just not going to be a formal show that's going on because most of them are in Atlantic City. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, there is a Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. Outdoor events can be shocking. How to protect yourself while performing outdoors. Then I'm going to guess the 10 o'clock show is not going to happen either. That Tuesday night music show, because they're still in Atlantic City. Speaking of which, if you are in Atlantic City, still going on tonight is the DJ help desk. They're having their party at the rooftop in the Claridge Hotel. But then tomorrow night at the Irish Pub, head on over there. That is going on. Some of the DJNTV people are going to be there, so you can go and hang out and just kind of chill. There's gonna be some music playing on the patio, but nothing too loud, nothing like in your face type of stuff, but just some music, like you can chill, kind of have some good conversation and just hang out with some people. So that's again tomorrow night at the Irish Pub in Atlantic City. And if you're not anywhere near Atlantic City, well then start driving. But I've got my tips coming Wednesday morning. John's got his tips tomorrow morning. And that is this week. That is this week. And if we get any news on new gear dropping or anything like that, we'll be sure to pass along as much as we possibly can. So on that note, Cubbie, you're not with us next week, right? You're
No,
busy.
I got the
Iowa
state
Fair.
fair. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
state fair. Yeah.
So it'll be John and I, and we'll figure out what's going to happen from there. But for everybody that joined in us tonight or caught the replay, we very much thank you for joining us, and we will see you all.